Hey everybody, this is Earl Foote, founder and CEO of Nexus IT. Welcome to TechBeat, where leaders learn, innovate, and grow. We're so happy to have you with us today, along with my esteemed guest, James Bloomfield. I'm going to get back around to introducing James in a moment here. Just a couple of quick reminders. TechBeat is now on all major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you consume those. We'd appreciate your subscription, and then certainly you can listen or watch the podcast from anywhere that you prefer to do that now. So, thank you for your follow or your subscription there. I wanted to just mention as well, we recently did a brand refresh, and this is a fresh new look for us here for the TechBeat podcast. If you haven't seen our brand refresh, go take a look at social media. Some new content out there along with our new logo and all of our new design schema and everything like that. We're pretty excited about that around here at Nexus IT. Again, excited to have James here with me this morning. And we're going to just chat a little bit about his background and his life in nonprofit and entrepreneurship and leadership. To officially introduce James is CEO of Hearsee Mobility. He is driven by a passion for solving complex problems and serving the blind and low vision community, with a career focused on building businesses, managing projects, and designing innovative solutions. James has spent the past 4.5 years collaborating with users to create a cutting-edge navigation system. His commitment to understanding their needs and maintaining high standards has resulted in a revolutionary product that enhances safety and independence. James, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you here. You drove in from St. George this morning?
Yeah. Drive in, get done, drive back.
Drive back.
Yeah.
It's a long day. Yeah. Like
worth it.
9 or 10 hours on the road. And
Exactly. It's what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We really do appreciate you coming up to shoot this podcast with us today. James, as we were talking, before the podcast, I really find, founder stories, leader stories, I find it very inspiring. Our audience does as well. Most of us are very common people, cut from common cloth, right? That started our lives, much like anybody else. And, granted, some of us, along the way, we've made some decisions or determinations in our life to pursue at times some lofty things, right? I think it's just really interesting to kind of study, how people go from, very common backgrounds to, doing some pretty, significant things in the world, right? Let's start there. I just want to, our audience to learn a little bit more about, James Bloomfield, where you grew up, kind of what your formative years were like, and, tell us about, your teenage college years and into career. It'd be very, very interesting to kind of hear how you got to where you are today.
So I grew up here in Utah, Sandy. It was a great time growing up. We had motorcycles, and we'd push our motorcycles a block away from our house, get them out of the neighborhood so we can go ride. But it was fun. My dad was he was a mechanic, and but he also did construction, and he'd manufacture things. And so it was always, we were raised with a do-it-yourself kind of mentality. And so you needed to do something, with figured out, got into construction. He helped his friend build a house. So one summer we helped build a house, back when there was no child labor laws.
But that's cool though. Experience.
Yeah. So, I had a great childhood growing up here. It was, everything outdoors and just had a great time.
Yeah. Things have changed, right? Like the way kids grew up today. And I intentionally, the few houses that my kids grew up in, they backed up to open space, like open fields and mountains and stuff, so that they could have that kind of
still be a kid.
Yeah, be a kid and go run around on the trails and all that kind of stuff. Because that's how I grew up. I grew up like we were constantly on our bikes or out in the fields or something. Just making up stuff and having fun, right?
Yeah. building forts.
Yeah. I didn't want my kids to, grow up, inside their whole life and on, on screens, right, their whole life.
And there's a good balance, but I think, today's world with our kids, we're in the same boat in St. George. Our house backs up to the Virgin River, and my kid can jump on his motorcycle, and him and his friends have ridden down to Mesquite from
Oh, wow.
our house. So
Okay. That's
get a phone call from your kid, and he's like, "Hey, we can see Mesquite." I'm like, "You probably should turn around and come back." But no, yeah, I went to Hillcrest High. Um, I made the decision to move out of my parents' house when I was 16 and continued high school and that, but um,
independent.
very
Yeah.
just
Mark of a leader, oftentimes, like
yeah,
I was very independent when I was young too.
yeah. So, I always had that, like, I just gotta work. I didn't have somebody there that could help.
Yeah.
So, it's like, that was just the way I kind of carved my own path, and, got into manufacturing and then construction, worked with, some great blacksmith artists here in Salt Lake that taught me a bunch of things. And, then that's how I kind of got into the entrepreneurial side of, let me start a business. Can I make a business out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of these companies, they just use the talent that individuals have to make money. And I was working one day, it was like, I'm making peanuts and I know that this is how it's working. So I just started diving into it. Thought I was way better equipped to do it on my own. Started my first business in total failure. It was cocky. It was a great humbler for me. But
the youth, right? And businesses are incredibly complex, right? They're even 27 years into my journey of building this business. Every day teaches you new lessons, right? And it's funny because I started my this business, being my first business at 23 years old, and I, like you think that it's simple and it's going to be easy, and here I am 27 years later trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody's roles are defined when you hire them, but when you're the one that's, you're at the top, you're the tip of the spear, but you're also the one that's making sure the trash is out, the checks are signed, and all that. So
yeah,
yeah,
wherever you got in business, in those early days, and that's especially as a solopreneur, right? Like,
yeah.
and that's been most of my trajectory. It sounds like a lot of yours as well. I think I look back and the way that most tech startups, especially software tech startups, in the modern world, start with a co-founding team, right, of 4 or 5 individuals. Man, that's a luxury. When you've started businesses as a solopreneur, and like you had to carry the load of the CEO, the CRO, the CFO, right, the COO, the whole thing, right. It's a lot to start with, and I have a lot of respect for people who start as solopreneurs.
Yeah. So my wife and I decided to move to Vegas before the Olympics came here, because I watched the trends of businesses after Olympics leave.
Mm-hmm.
How it's like this huge buildup and then just goes back to normal.
Yeah.
So we moved to Vegas and I set up a business there, and that was it was a great time. I did a lot of high-end casino work, a lot of like main focus casino floor work, cages, high limit, like blackjack and baccarat, like those kinds of things. And then, but I got an entrepreneur. My friend was the mayor of North Las Vegas, and he gave me a lot of really good, solid advice that stuck. I mean, he was very good at business, very good at like organizing and leading teams, and Um, so it was great to have that mentorship. And that's where I finally was like, all right, I can't do this on my own. I need to humble myself enough to listen to good mentors. So it was great. We ran that business for 13 years and sold it.
Very nice.
My wife wanted to go and finish her schooling, so we moved to Texas for her to do that. And I consulted for a year, and then um, bought into a company there and just did the same thing. Just took a company that didn't have a lot of good systems and processes, and helped them figure out how to streamline things, and it was great. We took a business that was really struggling, and then changed the way we estimated, ran projects, ordered materials, like things like that. But I brought in two of my friends that did. One was a sales guy, but the other he's still with me today. He's a professor at UTD and a two-star general. And he's the one when I had these crazy ideas, he was always the guy at the other end of my kite string, holding me down to the real world. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned something there, James, that I think is a really important learning. And I see a lot of, a lot of business founders, a lot of business owners, they cap the growth of the business by capping their own growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned learning, the lessons of humility early on, and learning quickly that you only know what you know, and you have no idea what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And the power of finding really good mentors and advisors, right? And knowing that you need to be coached, right? And you need to be coachable, right? That's can be a major pivot point for an entrepreneur in a business because, I talk often about, especially, if you're sitting in the lead chair, if you're the CEO or you're the primary business owner or solopreneur, right? You are the bottleneck of that business. And that business will only go as far, as you are capable to take it as an operator, as a leader, right? As a strategist, as a visionary. The more you develop yourself in all those veins, right, the more you find the right people to surround yourself with, and leaders to bring into your organization, and mentors and advisors and stuff. You begin to make your ceiling limitless, right? As long as you're willing to continue to develop and grow and make your future limitless. So that's
I think I think a lot with the entrepreneurs, and I do a lot of consulting for businesses too, where we are the ones that limit the companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it is just being able to be comfortable letting other people have control. And there's nothing wrong with. I'm more of an operations guy. That's where I shine. But understanding all of the financial side, teaching people that operations and finance, if those aren't in line, you're just fighting battles all day long, and they're internal battles that don't need to happen.
Yeah.
And as I do know a lot about the finance side, I'm not the right guy to do it because I will totally mess it up, but it's just knowing your lane. So, and then once you know your lane, just mentoring and teaching the people under you. And there's nothing wrong with having people. I mean, you see it in every organization. There's those that are climbing the ladder and they'll step over people. But if you understand your business and you understand the culture and you create that culture, those people kind of weed themselves out, but you're building people that if you're gone, that everything's going to run the way that it needs to.
Yeah.
You don't need to be there every single day looking over what's going on. You build good, solid teams that are passionate about what you're passionate about. And it makes a world of difference.
That is, there's so much sage advice right there, just in getting the right people on the bus and the right you call it the right cheeks in the right seat, right?
Yeah.
And then of course you as a leader, whether it's you're in the top chair or you're in another leadership chair, delegating and trusting, right? And empowering people to do their job, letting go of control, right? You got to let go of the reins. I mean, today's organizations are not top down, they're bottom up, right? And if you're going to build a thriving organization, that's how you have to think about the organization, about people at the front lines being empowered to be able to do their job, being able to make decisions on the fly with, frontline intel and getting stuff done without having to have, tons of bureaucracy and red tape and running things up the chain and back down the chain and across silos in an organization. Like, all of that just, gets complex, right?
Yeah.
These are really important kind of, lessons that, especially, earlier stage entrepreneurs, need to learn. These are all lessons I've learned the hard way. Like,
Oh, trust me, I learned them the hard way as well. It's the school of hard knocks. When we moved from Texas to Hawaii,
yeah,
and I consulted for a company there, and was offered the COO position, and I turned it down, and the owner was asked why, and I just was like, the culture's wrong.
Mhm.
I wouldn't work well with the culture. I'd be a bigger distraction than a help.
Yeah.
But I was like, but you need to get a hold of, you need to solve some things, and here's the things you need to focus on. Maybe a month later, he called me. He's like, those distractions are gone.
Yeah.
Do you want the job? And I was like, yeah, no, I'll do it with you. And but again, I was going back to, like, you guys have done the same thing over and over and over, but you're not bringing the money that you think you are. You have to change things. And they were so afraid of change. So it was like going into the analytics and going, okay, let's track every single job that's going through and look at everything that's spent, look at how it was bid, look at how everything, and then also teaching the project managers, understand the contracts, understand these are the rules of the game. Contracts are just the rules of the game that we all agree to. And within 6 months, we were able to go and say, what you think you're supposed to make this is the reality. And it changed a lot of the way that they did things.
Yeah.
So, but it was pretty good. I was operations for 5 of the companies over there. So when I ended up moving over here, I was done with the construction. It was really,
How long were you in Hawaii?
we were there for 5 years, and the last job I did was we did the COVID testing centers in all the airports in Hawaii, and talking about the bureaucracy, we had liquidated damages on the contract, and there's the architect making changes after contract signed, and not a clear path, and you have all these officials on the phone calls, and I just said, if everybody wants to sign up to take part of this liquidated damages, we can keep talking about this all day long. But if not, then we got to move because we're running out of time. And there were some angry phone calls to the owner of the company, but it opened up the eyes of people. Like, if we don't get going, we're never going to hit the mark.
Yeah. So, I think there's a point there that's really worth kind of exploring a little deeper. James, you talked about change, right? And this is one of the biggest hurdles, again, that we as leaders, as organizations, as founders run into, our own willingness to change, right? And the willingness of our people to change. Human dynamics, within an organization are very complex. We as human beings, as psychological archetypes, we generally resist change. It's a survival.
We don't want to see you alone.
Yeah. And people get very married to the way that things are done, right? If you've been doing something the same way for 3 years or 20 years, right? It's like, well, that's the way we do it. but is it the right? It is the right way. Maybe 5 years ago, maybe it was the right way, right? But is it the right way today, right? And so I know that's, one of the things that we've continually had to learn as an organization. It's why, one of our core values is a growth mindset, because, especially in tech, it evolves so fast, right? And you have to remain extremely nimble to be able to adapt to a shifting marketplace and how technology is changing the landscape of business, constantly every 12 to 18 months. You think about, with, now Gen AI, and all that, and how quickly things are changing. And if you can't build an organization where people become not only comfortable with change, but they actually look forward to innovating and doing things differently all the time, right? Rethinking and evolving as people, as an organization, as processes, as systems, as teams, right? Even team structures. You got to have those. Like you do something for 18 or 24 months, and it works for a while, and it works great, and then you got to morph and make some changes, because dynamics have changed within your business or with people or with your clients' needs or the market, right? So
it's being humble.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much about business, and that was one of the things with coming into the tech industry from construction. Is it's my thought is business is business. You're providing a service, or you're providing a product.
Yeah.
Right. But oh man, how little did I know what I was getting myself into. And it's like going from for-profit in the construction industry to a nonprofit in the tech industry, which nonprofit in the tech industry, like we're such a unicorn. We're doing things totally backwards. Everybody's like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Let's talk about that. How'd you make that jump, from construction to nonprofit, tech?
So when I moved back over here, one of the original founders, they were working on, two of the founders were working on using the same type of tech for another industry. And one of them was in China at a train station, and it was 3 levels. I think it was 6 trains. Anyway, trying to find your way to the right train in another country where no one speaks the language, and Mandarin is not the easiest language to read. So holding up, it's not like you can hold it up in Boston, you can line everything up. It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So the thought is could this work indoor? It was like, yeah, it totally can. Okay. How do we support the user, and what type of hardware do you need? Because there's hardware that would have to be involved. So as we really narrowed it down, it was like, this would work extremely well for the blind community. So we did. That's where I came in with just doing the proof of product, using my manufacturing and my experience in that business. We did a proof of product, our own, took it to the blind community here in Salt Lake, and asked them, here's what we're doing. Is this something that would be a vibe? Would this add value to you? We asked 3, 2 of the 3 were like, yes. The third one was like, this is a horrible idea. But we asked why, and his was like, well, you're going to add tech or add hardware that's going to like take over, and you're going to say that you're going to have to use this. So it was valuable. I mean, I was grateful that there was that one no, because we learned a ton.
Feedback's always good. Yeah.
So we did a proof of concept, external proof of concept, and took it back to him. It worked better than we thought, but all the tech was on the outside. All the hardware was on the outside of the cane. And they just said, this is great, but it sucks. Because they would never use it because everything's on the outside. So they were the ones that have been, from the very beginning of what we've done, has been, this is what it needs to do. So all the tech needs to fit inside the cane. It can't mess with the weight and balance, all that stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, well, tell us then, what is tell us about Hearsee Mobility. What's the product, and yeah, I mean, just tell us a little bit about what you're up to with the nonprofit.
So we are, we've developed a indoor navigation system, indoor outdoor, for the blind and low vision. It's a kind of a three-step product. So we have a smart cane that's involved with it. We have a mobile app and we have a web app. So an organization would buy the system.
Mm-hmm.
The web app maps out, like they load up their floor plan, they do everything, get map destinations within that floor plan. Once that's done, we put RFID tags at each one of those destinations. The serial number lines up with the descriptions that are in the web app. As a user walks into a building with the cane and the app open, it'll pull up it'll read a tag and it'll pull up all the destinations within that space.
Mm-hmm.
So if they wanted to go to your office, they could go from the front door, navigate to Earl's office, and it would get them exactly to the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing prompts? Or wow,
yeah. No prompts.
No prompts. All right.
Yeah. So
2 steps and then a left and then.
Well, it's done in feet. I mean, we talked a lot about how do we calibrate it, but
Yeah.
we were doing degrees like that. I mean, if I would have done everything that I thought,
calculate everybody's stride, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah,
If I would have done everything that I would work, we would have probably. Yeah, but just listening to the blind community and just really understanding what the need is. It was simple directions. They learn cane travel based on time and space. So they, it takes this much time to go this many feet.
Mm-hmm.
So they learn a lot. Anyway, it's been great. So the community's been fantastic to work with. They've been really pretty. I love the brutally honest ones.
Yeah.
Because then you learn, and a lot of people have been. And that was hard. That was a hard conversation. It was like we do much better when we understand the scope.
Yeah.
Like I think having hard conversations is a lost art in this day and age.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Nothing better than just getting raw, real information. But yeah, it's been great. So we've mapped at Utah Arts Academy. When you're in St. George, let me know. We'll go over and look at it. The school's amazing. They do a lot of visual art, but they also do music and theater. But in their school, they do galleries and they have all kinds of things. There's just so much visual description that they've had a few blind students that have been there, and that was the reason why they wanted to do it. But there's so much that's lost in our society that because we're so visual and we put so much emphasis on how things look that we don't pay attention to the way that a blind person would navigate through a space, or what are points of interest, what are things that they would find interesting.
Yeah.
So
interesting. So I think there's another really important business principle for us to dig a little deeper here on, James, and that is so often as founders or entrepreneurs, we think that we understand the client's problem and we think we understand the right solution, right? And we devise, products or services around those hypotheses we have, and we go to market, and so often things just fall flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
This skill of getting really good at listening to your market, right? Getting really good at taking constructive feedback, right? And not viewing that as something negative, viewing it absolutely positive. It is to an extent a lost art, and it is what cripples a lot of startups, right? Not really engaging with their community, their consumer, really understanding, how to craft a product or service that absolutely solves their pain point or provides a need or gives, some solution that people don't want to live without, right? And that's what, drives the buying behavior, of course. So it sounds like, yeah, at Hearsee, you guys have understood that principle. You've been very, good at engaging with your community and getting, raw feedback from them. So, the tell me a little bit about, a lot of questions just about the product and everything, but the end user, they buy their own cane then, or is the cane provided at the facility?
So that's, our whole goal of the whole purpose of us doing it as a nonprofit is we don't want the blind community to have to pay for. You're not paying for the app, and we don't want them to pay for the cane.
Yeah.
A facility manager doing it as a nonprofit, we can keep our costs. We'll just keep our costs low.
Yeah.
Right. Pay for the system, and the system comes with canes. And actually, when I went and met with the ADA, that was one of the things is we don't want individuals to go buy a cane, especially right now. But like, let's say we talked a lot about transportation and education. We've been in talks with Utah Tech and University of Utah and a couple other universities about putting the system in. But they would come with, like, let's say 10 canes, the system, and the school or the airport could do whatever they want with them, right? They can donate some to the community, but it makes more sense for them to keep it and just let people use it as they're using the facility.
Mm-hmm.
As this gets implemented, our goals is as this gets implemented everywhere, and we're talking with St. George, city of St. George, about being the first municipality to do it. So as it rolls out and it becomes more open in other places, then people can go and use a cane at one of the facilities. But if they want to, they could purchase a cane. But we want to keep the costs really low.
Yeah.
Especially for the end user,
Mm-hmm.
It's like we want there to be make sense for a facility to go, all right, we want to be more open and accommodating to the blind community. Like I tell people all the time, they'll say, well, there's Braille in and off. Like their ADA requires Braille. And I was like, it's one of those, unfollowed rules that everybody just thinks is okay.
Yeah.
But like most offices don't have Braille.
Yeah.
Only 10% of the blind community read Braille.
Really? Wow.
And it only tells you where you're at.
Yeah.
So you potentially have to go the wrong way and feel the wall to find another wall or find another sign to tell you, are you going the right way?
Yeah.
And, the big thing with the community is they don't want to stand out. They don't want to be,
Sure.
they don't want to be that peculiar person.
They want to get lost in a building,
Yeah. And we as sighted people are good Samaritans at heart, and our good Samaritan first thought is, let me go help them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're more of a hindrance than we are a help.
Sure.
So there's a bridge that needs to be conquered on both sides, so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is like, I just want to help gain awareness on the sighted side and help the blind community tell the story of how they can help be a bigger part of our society.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that many people that go through independent living that will actually go out and travel in public. And, it's kind of
in a sense could be, a fairly significant undertaking to try to navigate your way, through a world without sight. And we take so much for granted, when you don't have some of those, limitations, right? I just think about, like, when you're talking and describing it, I'm thinking about being inside of a labyrinth of a building and, trying to figure out where you're going. It's
like a cave.
Like, okay, you read an office number on the wall or something, with Braille, but that doesn't tell you which way. If you read like 115 and you're trying to get to 120, it doesn't tell you if 120 is right or left, or, like, you don't know, right? That's pretty complex. Thanks for, obviously, helping to create awareness, helping people understand, the challenges, difficulties that some of, some of our friends out there, face on a day-to-day basis. It's not things that we just, you don't default and consider it, right? So,
Yeah, and I think too, the blind community, if they've said their piece so many times that they're just tired of saying it because they feel that nobody really listens.
Yeah.
Because nothing really changes.
Sure.
So, and I don't want to say they're jaded, but they're just like, if you're not going to listen, then what's the point?
Yeah.
But on our side, like, there's so many people that have heard the story and they're like, oh, we totally want to help. But then, you go back and you get into your routine. And I'm not saying that anybody's, wrong.
Sure.
It's just how do we get out of our own busy lives and on both sides, and how do we just see individuals that meet people where they're at?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good lessons outside of what we do at Hearsee with society nowadays. There's such a big divide in our society, and there's more that brings us together than this takes us, pulls us apart.
Yeah. If we focus on that, right?
Yeah, if we focus on it, yeah.
I mean, right now we so much division, happening, right? Divisiveness, and
but it's a small group that's pushing that vision. But like I said, everybody that I talk to wants that unity, wants that like community.
Yeah.
It's a very small group that divides us. So
yeah.
I think us as individuals can do a much better job of just seeing people for who they are.
Totally. I totally agree with you. So tell us about the revenue model that you talked about, making the product affordable to facilities and, affordable or free to, to the blind. And so, how do you support the revenue? Are there grants or there, donations, or is it strictly off of, providing the product to facilities?
So there are grants. I don't like a lot of the grants because I think about the reason why I hate nonprofits is because you look at their reporting and their administrative high. Yeah. So the first thought is they're getting all this money and they're paying themselves a ton of money and their administrative costs are high. A lot of the grants that are out there, they're driven with the reporting that you have to do to where your administrative costs are high.
Yeah, sure.
So I like the foundation. So we've been, for the most part, self-funded. So we have gotten some grants from some great foundations, and a lot of them are here in Utah, and they're fantastic. But that's kind of the way we just wanted it to be. So we're switching from a fundraising model to more of let's just do a sales model. Still keep it a nonprofit, but go more of a sales model. So, like Utah Arts Academy was just under 30 grand to do that school. It's just over 30,000 square feet. Okay. So, we were just under $1 a square foot to do it. But as we grow, I mean, it all kind of changes because every building's got its unique points of interest or destinations. Like an office building where it's just a lot of smaller offices, you're obviously going to have more destinations. A university that's a big building, but they're just big rooms, there's going to be less destinations. So, we're looking at anywhere from 50 cents to $1 a square foot is on average what they would pay. But that comes with the system, the training on the system, how it works. We would help map out an area so they can understand how it works, actually place the tags. It comes with canes, comes with hardware.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like the most is we're going to have it to where a blind person goes and certifies that the building is set up right. so that the language that we use is correct, that that they can get from throughout the building, they can get to all the destinations. Because I think if we don't, that was a big one for me, was just making sure that the blind community has sign off that, okay, yeah, this works, and it works the way that we want it to work.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of them. There's a lot of companies out there that they'll provide a service, but then they don't stay within the same language, like place to place. So like little things like restroom, bathroom, you know, how they call things, how they describe things. They'll describe what they're looking at instead of how big is a room, what's the size, what's this, to describe the details of something instead of, oh, it's this beautiful wall that's got this painting, and it's the wall's this big, it's this big, it has these images on it. And then you get into the colors are this, it's just the way that we describe things.
Yeah.
But again, it gets back to how do we bridge that gap between the sighted and the blind.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about, where are you at in this process today? How many buildings are you in today? And what's the big vision? Are you hoping to, for this to be like a nationwide, regulation ultimately that, systems have to be available in public buildings, or, what's the big vision?
So the big vision, yeah, I'd love for this to be in every business, every building, indoor, outdoor. My big vision is I would love for somebody to leave their house, get in a vehicle, get to the airport, get to their gate, fly to New York, get a ride there, get to their hotel, go from their hotel to a show, go back to their hotel, go back to the airport, and just reverse the route.
Yeah.
And there's no reason.
Whole route navigated.
I mean, you being in technology, there's no reason in the world why a group in our community is stuck with like the best that we have to offer is Braille and very limited technology.
Like the way that you're thinking about this. So with innovation, yeah.
I mean, I would love it to be where Hearsee would be what gets adopted in the ADA, but if not Hearsee, then something else. My big thing is how do we make the change that is needed for people in our community that there's so much value that can be added incorporating the blind community better. And I hate saying it like that, but the blind community, I've learned so much from them, and they're the best. You're going to some of these conferences where you just get to sit and be with them and get to know them and create friendships. I've got so many great friends in the blind community that I would have never known if I just stayed in my lane and did my thing.
Yeah.
I would have never known. I mean, being in construction for as long as I have, we followed ADA requirements.
Yeah.
But hotels and that were the only ones that were ever compliant. Nobody else was.
Yeah.
So
that makes total sense for sure. So how many facilities are you in today?
So Utah Arts Academy is our very first. Well, let me take it back. We've mapped an office in Michigan, which was one of our software development partners. And we've mapped a couple conference centers, but we took the tags out when we left. But Utah Arts Academy is the first one that's full blown. Yeah. Like you can go. The principal at Utah Arts Academy, I met with him last week, and he said that because they put on shows there, and a member of our community down there, the blind community, came, and he's like, I heard about this. Is there any chance that I could do it? So Drew helped him download the app on his phone, connected the cane, and he's just like, dude, just go. Yeah. Go wherever you want. And just come back and tell me what you think. And Drew said when the guy came back, he was really emotional and said this was the coolest thing that he's ever experienced.
Does so you talked about connecting the cane Bluetooth. So the audible portion comes from the phone then.
Mm-hmm.
That if you're about putting your body in for your phone, you connect to the cane.
Yeah.
So the cane doesn't have a speaker that's like loudspeaker. Yeah, right. Because you want it to be private.
Yeah.
In your ear. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're working on hardware right now. We're working on the Gen 2 cane where the e-compass will be in the cane so the user can leave their phone in their pocket. Right now you can push a button and you can use the mic through the app and navigate to certain points, but we're adding haptic feedback to where when they turn towards, like it says, take a sharp right.
Yeah.
They'll just turn right until they get to that, until they feel that haptic buzz, and then they'll go, all right, that's the direction you need to walk.
I like the haptic idea. That's fantastic. Yeah. That's really good. Coming back to, something that you were talking about there, James, about, just your connection with this community and the kind of the quality that I think, one of the things I've definitely learned in life is that as human beings, when we face uncommon challenges, it usually creates people with significantly more depth, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And, oftentimes, people who develop additional senses and capabilities, that common population doesn't, right? They figure out other ways to navigate, and do things in life, when you don't have, the common capabilities that everybody else might have, or the general populace has, right? And I think the depth is really the important thing. And that's actually, as founders, we sign up for challenging ourselves pretty much every single day, right? We
strive in the team.
Yep. We sign up for knowing that's gonna, we're gonna face battles on a constant occasion. And granted, some people that doesn't necessarily change in a positive way. But I think the majority, at least that I know, that I associate with, over time, it develops significant depth of character of a human being, deeper empathy, deeper ability to be able to connect with others, because you gain just a deeper appreciation of humanity and what it takes to navigate life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times and I think I really don't like the word disability.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. I've tried not to use it today.
Well, no, I mean, it's the common, it's the word that we use, right? But I look at some of the people that I've talked to, just how naive we are. People go, well, how does a blind person use a phone? And I kind of cringe when people say it, because it's like, they're way better at technology than we are. Like, just the fact that they can take in so much information so fast and be able to recall it. Like we get handicapped by it a lot. So that whole disability thing, I don't like that.
Disability creates super ability potentially. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Anthony Ferraro, a good friend of mine, I was at a meeting here, and he was actually doing a talk at Weber, and I met him at the Ogden skate park, and never been there before. And I just met him there just to watch him skate, and he hit like everything. And there were so many people that were there watching. They're just blown away. Like, he's got to see something. Totally blind, but
that is for us. It's like almost incomprehensible, right?
Yeah, but But those are the people that we want to highlight. So that here's people that are confident in we don't want it to be the focus on the emotional side and make people feel sorry.
Yeah.
Like I want to focus on the highlights, the people that are out there doing things that are
The
pushing
things that we
themselves.
can learn from that too, like learning how to thrive despite challenges, right? I think those of us of the general populace that don't have some of the physical challenges that exist out there, we take so much for granted, right? And then we so often are what do I want to say? We allow life to kind of run over us, and we're just kind of we feel disempowered, and it's so inspiring to
Showing
see
up and getting
people.
mine.
Yeah. It's just inspiring to see people who decide to take an empowering perspective and mindset and approach to what life presents to them, and again develop super ability because of it, right? It's pretty cool. Well, we're rounded out on the hour here, James, as we finalize, maybe just final words of wisdom for the audience. What is the greatest lesson of your career, leadership, entrepreneurship, what it might be, whatever it might be?
I think for me, it's just what I've learned the most is everyone adds value. Everyone has something to add.
Yeah.
It's our jobs as leaders to be able to flush those out and build them and help. There are those challenges. I mentor people and I tell them all the time, don't get in a comfort zone. There's no growth in it. I mean, if you get in a comfort zone, that's all your life's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, entrepreneurs, just push yourself. There's always, go for the big, swing big.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that point about having the ability to really see what are people's super strengths, right? And then using those as a leader, helping them empower and develop those so that the organization can be a better organization, right? Overall, because of that, that's the mark of a really great leader, right? I think about that and I'm like, well, I sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't, right?
Well, we miss it, Mark. We're human, but if we keep our eye on like seeing the individuals and building them, even if they become our competition, right?
Everybody's got strengths.
If you treat people the way that they want to be treated, the way that you like to be treated, you're going to have more allies out there than you will enemies.
Yeah, that's important. Business. It's easy to forget that this is a human effort, right? And where everybody that you surround yourself with in business is human, and it's not just numbers. It's not about processes and systems.
It's not the dollar.
Yeah,
if you put the dollar in front of, the value of somebody, then your value is in the dollar, not the person.
It's always been core to our DNA here. People first, client first. Those are things that we take into highest regard as we make decisions and navigate how we build the business and how we solve problems for clients and stuff. And it's it can be a lost art. I won't say we're perfect at it either, right?
It's a great culture.
Yeah, and a business does have to create financial outcomes. You can't be a business, right? If you're not if you're not financially solid, right? So you have to figure out how to be people and client first while also making the math add up, right? Which it's one of the interesting kind of science projects and problems to solve in business.
But if you put high expectations out there, but you're in there, they can see that you're in there, roll up your sleeves and work with them.
Yeah,
it's amazing what people will pull off when they know that you got their back.
Well, James, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you coming in and sitting down with me today. Again, sharing with the community what you're up to at Hearsee. Very inspiring. I absolutely wish you and your organization the best. Hopefully, lots of success, and hopefully you're able to help a lot of people navigate life and and buildings and environments far easier, right? Thanks everybody for joining us here on TechBeat. We really appreciate you, and we're going to sign off for now. We'll see you later.